Welcome back to the Webby O'Neill channel. It's our reaction to Erik ten Hag's press conference, and to be honest with you, there's some sad news there. Big injury blow there to Lisandro Martinez, Reguilon as well. But there was some positive news that come out earlier today surrounding Antony, that he'll be returning to training tomorrow on Saturday. Statement FC did release a statement this morning, and it was actually a short one. They must have watched me doing the videos previously where I struggled with the longer statement, so thank you for that, Manchester United. Now, they did say, since allegations were first made in June, Antony has cooperated with police inquiries in both Brazil and the UK, and he continues to do so. As Antony's employer, Manchester United has decided that he will resume training at Carrington and be available for selection, with police inquiries proceeding. This will be kept under review pending further developments in the case. As a club, we condemn acts of violence and abuse. We recognise the importance of safeguarding all those involved in this situation and acknowledge the impact these allegations have on survivors of abuse. Now, your reaction to the news that he will be returning to training on Saturday?
Yeah, he confirmed in the press conference Saturday is when he'll return. He was asked a question about Antony, and I was baffled by it because looking at Erik ten Hag in all his press conferences, you knew exactly what he was going to say. And he said, it's been made clear in Man United's statement, and he didn't answer anything. So it was a wasted question. He should have just turned around and asked the question like, when do you expect him to be starting or something like that? But to ask him like silly question on Antony, he just battered it off with a straight face and said, I refer to the statement. But it's good news for Manchester United that he's back in training. So I expect him really not trained. I expect him to be back in about 2 weeks, to be honest, and that'll be good for Manchester United. And obviously we've got some bad news about Martinez.
Which we will go into later on the video, but I just want to ask you, do you think we can cope, we can continue on the right-hand side with Palestra stepping in for Antony recently? It's been good enough for me with his performances recently. So.
Yeah, I think United will be all right, whether it's with Palestra or whether he changes his actual tactics. I think we'll be all right. Yes, it's been a difficult period with injuries and that, but with Antony coming back, it does sharpen up Palestra. But Palestra's been all right if he chooses Palestra in that formation. So I'm comfortable with it, and I think Erik ten Hag's comfortable with it. He did talk about young players developing and coming into the squad and all that, and he just knows what he's got, and he knows that he's got a lot of young players who are capable, and Palestra is one of them.
Yeah, I'm glad he's actually getting a run, Palestra. I was one of the ones last season who thought he should have got a little bit more game time, especially towards the end of the season. And yeah, the match had made up for him that he's still got this run over the next couple of weeks at least to try and cement a place down, because let's have it right, we want competition for places in every position. So, well,
it's the right period for him, to be honest with you. Any player coming in, playing at Old Trafford, he'll have the crowd behind him, and he's got quite a few games at Old Trafford now, so he's got a chance to impress us all. I'm already impressed, so I've no worries about him. I just like the work rate, what he does with Delo. So to me, he's a starter if Erik ten Hag sticks to the same tactics.
Yeah, until Antony does come back, let us know out there. Are you quite happy to stick Palestra on the right-hand side, or do you think someone else may be given a chance, or a little bit of a tactical tweak from ten Hag? Maybe Bruno on the right-hand side, which I'm not a fan of, to be quite honest with you. But there was some other injury news surrounding the left-back position. Reguilon, he's going to be out as well for the Crystal Palace game. So do you expect Amrabat to continue left-back?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. Yes, if he fitted in, I've got no qualms in being in there. So if it is Amrabat, that's fine. Bit disappointing for us all, really. I prefer to see him in the middle. He's raring to go. Big lad, knows the game, knows what he's doing. And so, to me, yeah, if he's left back, he's left back. He'll play anywhere.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I actually want him to play left back, to be fair, because I said it in yesterday's video. I actually thought he played really well in his football brain, his positioning, knowing when to tuck inside alongside Casemiro to beef that midfield up, knowing then when to come out on the left back side to shore that up, you know, keep the defence solid on that side. And it's going to be a step up from Tuesday. On Saturday against Palace, you expect him to come more at Manchester United. But I want to see that challenge and see how he steps up against that challenge, because then maybe going forward, you know, it's another player who can play in another position if we ever need so throughout the season.
Problem is, it looks as though he could be there for a while. I'm not too sure really, on the news. That is just out for the Crystal Palace game. But we'll soon see. I just hope Reguilon does come back because I want to see Amrabat in the middle.
Yeah.
It'd be a shame to see Amrabat playing left back for the next 2-3 games. So hopefully Reguilon is back.
It's just that I only see, Amrabat, Casemiro, Mason Mount and Bruno all fitting in the same team if Amrabat plays left back. I can't see all them fitting in that team unless that happens. I can't really or want to see Bruno playing out on the right-hand side because I think we'll lose something when he goes out on that side. So for me, it gives also Mason Mount and Bruno, in my opinion, let me know what you think, have a bit of a license to go and attack and be more free-flowing up at the end of the pitch where they know behind them they've got Amrabat and Casemiro with Amrabat tucking in. Casemiro as well, he's been on the attack, hasn't he?
Well,
the last 2-3 games, what is it, 3 goals in 2... No, is it 2 goals or 3 goals he scored?
I forgot, I think it's 3 goals.
3 goals, and an assist in the last 3 games.
Yeah, well, you've got to throw in Hannibal as well into the mix, okay?
Good shout.
So Erik Ten Hag has got a dilemma, but I think it will all go... I think it will all come down to how Ten Hag sets up, whether he still sticks with the 3, because there's that many good midfield players there now, and they seem to be starting to gel. So at the end of the day, we'll just have to wait and see.
Would you be surprised if Hannibal started on Saturday? With some of the players we've got now returning, he did also mention Scott McTominay and Eriksen. They're available for the Crystal Palace game. It looks like in that midfield area, you've got Amrabat, Casemiro, Mount, and Bruno all fit. Would you be surprised?
He did say that they're available, Eriksen and McTominay, but I see them, and I think most people see them now as squad players. I think that's what their role is. I think there's too many good players in front of them now, and we have got a good selection in that midfield. And if Hannibal gets into that midfield tomorrow, then I'll tell you what, some other players are going to struggle to get in it because that kid really, really wants that position.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Let us know what you think on that. John in the chat says, worrying with Varane being injury prone as he is, we could be seeing a lot more of Jonny Evans than anticipated. Hopefully that Amrabat provides the defence a little bit more protection though.
Could, but Varane, he looked all right the other night. It's just a matter of managing him. We know he's got injuries, and obviously it's a bigger problem because of Martinez, him being out. But Varane, I think United will take care of him. I just hope, and I think that's all we can do with Varane. Hope that he doesn't break down and that United manage his game time, because that's what's needed with Varane. He will have to be replaced. It will have to be looked at in the summer to replace Varane, because you can't have a player who just plays 2 games and then he's out for a few games. And that seems to be the pattern with Varane. So hopefully it's all about managing game time with Varane.
Yeah, it might also bring more game time for Jonny Evans, maybe even Harry Maguire as well. Or do you stick with Lindelof and Varane? Is that your 2 centre-backs going forward?
I'm sticking with Lindelof and Varane. For Manchester United, unfortunately, to have Jonny Evans and Harry Maguire, if you have to rely on them, then we are in trouble. And that's no slight on Jonny Evans. It's no slight on Maguire. Maguire is the player he is. Jonny Evans is the player he is. But it's not the future for Manchester United. That's the problem we've got with players like Varane. And now this injury to Martinez. To me...
the problem with Varane as well, though, is he can't really play more than a game every 7 days. I know. When we were struggling last year, and we was playing a game every 3 or 4 days. And he does need that rest. So... like the likes of Evans and Maguire, they are going to have to be on the toes, match fit, because he will need them at some point.
That's why I look at the Martinez injury now. Ruled out for at least 2, possibly 3 months. That's the word what's coming out now from reporters and that. That's a bigger blow than any injury we've had up to now. He is the man at the back. He is the warrior, and everyone looks to him. So at the end of the day, it's a massive blow for United going forward. I thought things were starting to turn round, but I do look at Martinez and I do question the common sense really in sending him away on the international duty after he picked up the injury. Yes, he didn't play out there. He trained out there. He's come back, and I think United might have rushed him, but that might be down to Martinez himself, to be honest with you. Sort of like saying, I want to play.
Yeah.
but he should have just like slowed it down. But I don't think United should have let him go out on international duty. But to me, it's the biggest blow long term for Man United at the moment.
Yeah, especially with Luke Shaw being out as well. If Luke Shaw was available, I'm sure he'd fit in alongside Varane on that left-hand side of defence, as we've seen last season.
Yeah, well, he turned round Ten Hag in the press conference talking about players' injuries and that, and he said, we've actually dealt with the injuries by expanding the squad. Yes, he acknowledges this game overload with what's going on in international football and the amount of games the United players have got. But he seems okay with it because he's saying, I've dealt with it. And he's dealt with it by getting a big squad. But what he has done with that big squad has brought in a few youngsters, which we highlighted yesterday. You know, you've got to add Gore into that. Do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I think the squad is big enough, but the Martinez injury is the crucial blow.
Yeah, big player for Manchester United. Danny says, could you do 3 at the back, lads, and load the midfield, or do you think that would be foolish? Me personally, I'm not too keen on that formation. It's just a bit too defensive for me, that formation. Yeah. I don't think it's something that Erik Ten Hag would want to go down.
I think at some point in game, I think he has to sometimes look at the opponents who he's playing. And when it comes to, like, say, to Palestri or the midfield, he might have to start with just 2 up front or just with a target man. And then we've got the players to put in midfield. So there's certain games, when you play like the Liverpool away, your Man Cities, things like that, Erik Ten Hag will have to look at it. But the good thing is we've got lots of midfield players. I mean, if you just look at the 2 young lads, Hannibal and Gore, they're fine. There's no worries with them going forward, and with the players already there.
Yeah, but you'd be a bit tricky maybe putting them in against the top end of the table.
Not putting them in. I'm saying if we had more injuries or anything like that, these lads are getting the experience, just like Palestri's getting the experience, and that's what Ten Hag was sort of like saying in the press conference. It's great for these young players. They're developing. We've got lots of them, and they've got to do it. This is what they're here for. They're here for a professional life. So he has looked at the youngsters, and I made up that he's looked for the youngsters. I sort of mentioned it yesterday, that it had actually caught me by surprise that how many young players we've actually got coming through. I think with all the injuries and the carnage around the club, I said it yesterday, that it's gone.
Like it's gone fresh air, though, with some of them that have come in, especially Palestri, Garnacho and Hannibal.
But it's gone unnoticed with all the chaos around. So I think going forward, I think we're all right. And if there is more injuries, we have got the youngsters to come in, and they're getting the experience, and that's what you want.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the chat, to be honest with you, want to keep Hannibal in against Crystal Palace this weekend.
I can understand that, yeah.
Yeah, Brian says, Hannibal has been fantastic. It would be a mistake to drop him, in my opinion. Zippy says the same thing. Hannibal deserves to stay in the team. Peter Griffith, afternoon, Kieran and Tony, afternoon, my mate, and everyone who's joining us. And yeah, tomorrow is your team formation, any selections, what you picked yesterday. Has that changed at all now?
No, nothing's changed, really. The question is, it's about possession. I looked at it Tuesday night. United had all the possession, forced them back, but that was the way they approached the game. So I hope they approached the game the same way. Erik Ten Hag was asked the question about possession. We only had 38% possession against Burnley. And he says, you don't always need that much possession to win a game.
Ask Jose Mourinho that. How many times has he been, possession stats 30%, and he's gone and won games time and time again. I listened
to that and I thought to myself, who's he having here, Erik Ten Hag? Because he demands that United keep the ball and everything.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like, tongue-in-cheek as far as I'm concerned, but 38 possession against Burnley, and I did say it was a battling performance. That's what was needed for Burnley away.
I think United had to go kind of back to basics against Burnley to make sure they got the 3 points instead of maybe playing that attacking football they normally play. Maybe sit back and play more on the counter-attack and try and use Marcus Rashford, but obviously it just didn't work out for him in that game.
I think Burnley was like the start of let's get back on track. It's the 3 points we need. Let's not worry about too many other things, you know what I mean? Possession and 38%. But we turned that round. We forced it on Palace the other night, took it to him, took control of the game early, and he turned round. He was asked the question again, Erik ten Hag, how different do you think this game will be? And he said it straight away. He says, I know Palace. He said, now we'll be looking for revenge. And they will be looking for a revenge. And I did say yesterday, and I'll say it again, that, listen, don't expect this Palace team to crumble. They will be hurt. And Hodgson there, he knows what he's doing. And then players, they'll come to Old Trafford and their pride's hurt and they'll have it. And Ten Hag's aware of that. Revenge is the mission for Crystal Palace. They'll have a lot of fans here, more than what they had the other night, and they'll want to see their team perform. And I don't think you'll see them perform anything like what they did on Tuesday night. I think they'll try and hold United and then take them. That's how I see it. And as I said yesterday...
What do you mean hold? Do you mean just playing the counter-attack?
Not necessarily play on the counter-attack. I think just stop them. I think they're going to be a rough house here. I think they're going to, use a bit of muscle, force these players off, force them off the game. I think that's how they'll look at it. And if Hannibal does play, I think you'll see fireworks if that's the tactics.
I think they'll have to get something out of the game, Crystal Palace. They are going to have to close Manchester United down and be tight. I think if they give certain players too much room, like your Brunos, if Mason Mount plays and, the wide players, I think we will hurt Crystal Palace. And I can't see Crystal Palace keeping that up for, let's say, 70, 80 minutes of the game, So I think we will get chances against Palace.
No, I think what Palace will try and do so they don't get swamped is like step up the back four sort of further up, help the midfield, and then try and blunt United's attack there. And I think that's where they'll get the chance to go forward, because United will be on the front foot.
Yeah.
I think that's how Ten Hag wants them to play, and I think that's how we all want them to play. So I think tomorrow will be a battle, but it'll be a battle of the midfield. So Erik ten Hag, I think, might be prepared for this, and we might get a bit of a shock after listening to him today about his tactics, how he actually sets the team up.
Yeah, there's a lot of people mentioning Lisandro Martinez in the chat, as you would expect with that injury news. With him being out, well, it's down to reports, what's being put out there.
Yeah.
2 to 3 months. Would that be a broken bone in his foot, do you think? Do you think it's more serious than, let's just say, a muscle issue in his foot kind of thing?
Yeah, listen, the only thing I know, I don't think it's a broken foot. I think I've heard injuries before with United players, especially, where they mention metatarsals. And,
that's the big one for the foot, isn't it? What we all remember from, is it David Beckham years ago?
Yeah, it's the big one, and I haven't got a clue where it is. Yeah, but I haven't got a clue where it is. But it's, I know the word.
I know where it is. Get your sock on. Get your foot on there, I'll show you.
No, it could be something, a broken bone in his foot, and it does take time. But I think 2 months is about right, really. 2 months, maybe more, but it's a major blow.
Because I'm seeing that word used as well, rehabilitation. So he's going to need quite a bit of rehab there. So to me, it's a bit more serious than what we all think.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier on. I think this is the biggest blow for United going forward. And it's come at the wrong time, because I think the last 2 performances, as the mood in the camp is just buoyant. All the players are smiling. All the players are wanting to be on the pitch. But like being on the pitch against Crystal Palace, I think what you have to look at tomorrow is having a strong bench, and I think Erik ten Hag's aware of that. Having a strong bench is vital. We've not really had that up until the last couple of games.
Yeah, it sounds even more of a blow if you think to yourself, if it is 2 to 3 months, we might not see Martinez until next year. And when you think of it like that, it's a big blow, but it then gives others opportunities to step up, like your Lindelof. When we've seen Lindelof come in last season to replace Martinez again, I think it was when he got injured against Sevilla, he stepped up, had an absolute fantastic game in that semi-final against Brighton, scored the winning penalty as well, and he did do a job.
Listen, it has to be Varane and Lindelof, but that partnership's not going to last. Not going to last. It's never lasted. Varane's never lasted. So at the end of the day, we may have problems going down over the next month or 2. Luckily, we've got a lot of games at home over the next 2 months, so that should help. You know what I mean? In after the game, and just sort of like taking it easy. So no flying about, none of that. So that's good news. But that partnership, Lindelof and Varane, is not gonna last. It might just last 2, maximum 3 games, and that's not just on Varane. That can be on Lindelof as well.
Yeah, But if you look at the centre halves that we've got available in that first team squad, they're all seasoned internationals. They're all experienced players. So there shouldn't be any, really negatives on that, because they should be able to come in and do a job.
Look,
they've all been at the club long enough under Erik ten Hag. They know how he wants to play football, so there shouldn't be any excuses in my eyes.
Jonny Evans isn't
not young kids.
Look, Jonny Evans isn't here, right, to play 3, 4, 5 games. He's here to fill in for the odd game. That's what he's here for, in my opinion. And I don't know anything else out there what tells me any different.
Look at the Burnley game the other week.
No, I know that. But
fantastic performance. Got to take your hat off to him.
Yeah, but it's a one-off game, right? It's a one-off game. That's what he's here for. And then you have to look then at Maguire, right? You cannot rely on Maguire, okay? Yes, he had a good game the other night. No, I'm not taking that away from him. But it was an easy game. It was an easy game because United, the work rate and everything they put in. But you cannot rely on Maguire. You cannot rely on Jonny Evans. At the moment, Jonny Evans might prove us all wrong, okay? But he's not here to play 3, 4, 5 games on the trot, which is what we want. And Varane doesn't do that. And at the end of the day, Lindelof won't do 4, 5, 6 games. So we have got problems going forward.
Well, you surprised me there, because I thought you might have opened up a bit more on Jonny Evans and Maguire, but I'll leave it there. Zane in the chat says, Tony, now we have City out of the Carabao Cup, do you think United are favourites? I see United and Arsenal in the final.
No, I see United. Well, I hope United get to the final, but I see the big problem really now City are out is actually Liverpool. I think Liverpool are playing good football, attacking football. If they go a goal down, that's what I've noticed. They come back. They seem to be on it.
I've got to be honest there, and I don't like saying this, but I think Liverpool are going way too much under the radar in terms of challenging for the Premier League this season. All you're ever hearing is Arsenal challenging Man City. And I think Liverpool at the moment, they're getting results, and they continue to do that. I think if you look at the table at Christmas time, they will be there or thereabouts.
You have to look at, without a doubt, you have to look at Liverpool challenging.
Yeah.
But I don't think they'll win it. I don't think Arsenal have got a hope in hell chance.
They've got injuries now as well, aren't they? Some of the key players.
No excuse. No excuse. There's no excuses. Okay? No excuses. You've got a squad, big squad, spent a lot of money. Deal with it like every other, like United have to. So I ain't whinging for anybody who get injuries. But Liverpool, to me, seem as though they can mount a challenge. I don't think they'll win it. I think at the moment, everything points in the direction of City. United will struggle to get in the top 4. Let's just hope that
you think United will struggle to get in the top 4?
Listen, I've just spoke about the centre halves. Your biggest problem is Martinez. Because what happens is Varane goes out of the game, okay? And swapping and changing. Look, if you look at the beginning of the season, I started out, we had Luke Shaw, Martinez, Varane, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Where's that gone? It's gone, right? And you start a football game, right, by defending and having a solid back 4. That's where you improve. And if you look at our back 4, it's like a jigsaw puzzle which keeps falling on the floor. And you're having to try and put it back together again, right? And it just drives you mad. You have to have a solid back 4. We haven't got it, and it will cost us.
Yeah, that's your opinion. Let us know about that. If you think Manchester United will get the top 4, I still think we'll get top 4.
I'm saying we're going to struggle.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's not going to be, easy to get in the top 4 as though it's done and dusted at Christmas kind of thing. But I do think we've got enough players there who can cope with it and should be able to cope with it. Like I say, there shouldn't be any excuses. You look at the 4 centre-halves we've got available now, they're all international players. They're not young kids. They're older heads in the squad, and they've been here long enough under Erik ten Hag to know how he wants them to play. So for me, there's no excuses. When you're bringing in the younger kids and you're having to rely on them, well, yeah, maybe it's a different conversation, a different story. But for me at the moment, they should be getting in that team and wanting to improve themselves to give a first team stake in the squad, but the starting 11.
All I can hope for is that these players, what are understudies, are qualified, are good enough, proper professionals. They know the game, but will they be able to do it consistently for 3 or 4 games? That's what I'm saying. They're all right coming in for the odd game here and there, but when you've got players like Varane, if he gets injured, which I think he will, It's just the nature of him. And Martinez out. That is a big blow going forward.
Of course, when you're coming up against, the top of the table teams, in Europe and over here, the class does shine, in the opposition and winning games. But I just think, the players that we've got there, I don't want to be too negative around
I'm not being negative.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying I don't want people out there being too negative about it. Like, oh yeah, we've got some injuries here, there and everywhere. But if you listen to Erik ten Hag in his press conference, and he doesn't sound too down about it. He's always saying, I've got a squad here, and he's quite happy going into games using his squad. And only the thing I'm noticing at the moment is he's having to use players that are not really best off in the position or more natural in the position, like Amrabat, left back. But he's doing a job. He done a job the other night. And he could come in again on Saturday and do another job. So
the players are capable of doing a job for a game. It's just, I just worry going forward. I'm not being over optimistic, okay? But I can see United fighting. I can see them gelling. I see things getting better. And then it's just a matter of waiting and seeing where we are in November, December. And that's what I've said. I think we'll have a clearer picture then. At the moment, I'm just hoping that it sticks together and it improves. And that's what we should all be doing, hoping it improves, because it has been poor. And there's been many reasons why it's been poor. But like I say, I go back to it again, and I know I might be doing some people's heads in, right? But I see that as a major issue. Martinez out, and then the centre halves getting disrupted again in the next 2 or 3 games. But hopefully, those what come in will be able to do the job. And that's what we should all do. We should all hope that they get it right.
Yeah, and you'd expect other teams in and around United, even at the bottom end of the table, they'll get injuries at some point. These teams do go through patches where they get injuries. Yeah, Manchester United is a lot more bloated than other teams, a lot more than what we've seen in recent years, or what I can remember with key players getting injured. But, he's got some players in the summer. He's got some players in the previous summer who have improved the squad. And, you've still got the likes of Casemiro in there, Bruno, you've got Rashford in there, old heads in the team, Varane.
But also, I'm not forgetting as well, we will have players coming back.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying to you. I look forward to November, December with players coming back, getting back in the team, and hoping that any player what needs to come in and fill in a gap, like if Varane gets injured. And I'm saying if he falls injured, what I say is...
Well, he's got to manage him well.
Well, that's what I've said. He has to be managed well, but he has a history of playing so many games and then missing so many games. But it's the players what are coming in and coming back, what I think we'll have to see how they work, how it manages, and how Erik ten Hag, and he's got the squad and he knows what to do. And I think he will manage the squad well. It's just if they pile up before the injured players come back.
Yeah, it does seem like, we get one player back and then 2 get injured kind of thing, or 2 are unavailable. But like you say...
I'm optimistic. I'm
looking towards like that Christmas time, and, if it does stop this, bad run of injuries, we will have most of the squad back, and then we can do a charge for the second half of the season, just like we used to do. So if we can get through this period up until Christmas, picking up points,
I think they
being
will.
there or thereabouts, I'm confident me going into the end of the season.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will get through it. And what's going to help them is all these home games we've got. That's the good thing. So at the end of the day, I am optimistic. I just hope that they're able to battle through some of the difficult times what are going to come, and that's what's needed. And if you look at the Burnley game, and if you look at Erik ten Hag's reaction, he knows it was a battle. He'll take 38% possession in every game, so long as he wins, and I'll take that as well, because at the end of the day, scraping and working hard for the 3 points is what matters. Having this attacking football and everything doesn't really matter at the moment. We've got to accumulate 3 points every game, and we've got a chance now here to pick up 9, 12 points, right? And then let's see where we are. Let's see where the squad is.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jedi in the chat says, our kids are showing senior pros what it is required in work rate and effort.
Well, that's what young guns do, don't they? They want to take them players off the pitch, and they want to be on the pitch. And it's called work rate, enthusiasm, the lot. And we're going to see it in the next couple of games. We've got Crystal Palace Saturday, and then we've got Galatasaray. These 2 games are massive, and they're also massive for anyone what's on that pitch against Crystal Palace. And if these young guns are on it, if Garnacho's on there, if Pelestri's on there, and if Hannibal's on there, that's a big marker down for them lads. And they've got to push it because they'd want to be in that game, a Champions League game on Tuesday night against Galatasaray. Nothing better.
Do you think his selection, with you just mentioning Galatasaray, he might have that in the back of his brain with his team selection on Saturday against Palace?
Yeah, I think he will.
We need the points against Galatasaray. Yeah. We need that win. We need the 3 points.
I think he will. I do think he'll bring Bruno and Rashford back, but he will look at it. And he has to look at it carefully because he has to manage. If there's only one player left in one position, he's going to have to look at it carefully. And he's going to have to, be honest with you, he's going to have to use them substitutes a lot on Saturday to get players to rest. So I think he's got an eye on that Galatasaray game because it is a massive game. Absolutely massive.
Like we was just saying there, Varane as well. You know, if he does start Varane, can you see Varane lasting the whole game against Palace? I don't think you will do. I think he'll bring him off with at least 20 minutes to go with the eye on the Galatasaray game.
I think Varane...
Depending on how we're doing score-wise, like in my head, I think we're winning 3-0 that game. Let us know your score.
Yeah, well, I think it'll be a battle. Yeah. And I only think it'll be 1-0, and I think it'll be a tight game. So, really, bringing Varane off all just depends on how the game goes. So, we've just got to wait and see on that one.
I think it's Carey. Says a lot of injuries because they're finally being made to work and run after... Oh, God, it flipped up this thing.
No, I don't.
No, I've got it back. Let me read it back out again. It flips up. Carey says a lot of injuries because they're finally being made to work and run after how many years of mediocrity and jogging.
No, I don't agree with that in anything. You look, we've had a World Cup round about this time starting last year. Everyone was preparing for it. It's non-stop football, international football and all that. And it's nothing to do with running or anything like that. It's the amount of games they keep playing. Bruno Fernandes, there was a stat there this morning I looked at. 70 games he played last year. Players are playing too much, and it's a fact of life. There's too much. The game is actually faster than what it was 5 years ago. The players are being asked to do too much running and everything like that.
And there's more games.
There's more games, and it's affecting. The body can only take so much. Yeah. And the amount of games what people are being asked to play, and all these international, like silly internationals against Scotland in midweek, that's the England one. You know what I mean? Ridiculous. And it's all about money. We know that. But no, I think it's all down to the amount of games players are playing. Not that they've having to train harder or anything like that. I don't believe that. What it is, it's the amount of games, and it's taking a toll on the body. Yeah,
especially with all these minutes being added on extra time and stuff like that.
That doesn't help. That doesn't help. Football's got to look at itself. Physios, everything else like that. There is too many, and it is clearly, as far as I'm concerned, listening to people out there talking about the game, it is clearly all about too many games.
Yeah, I think it might end up at a point where, the average age of the squads is going to become lower because of the pressure that's put on the players to do so many games in a season. And you're looking more towards the younger ones who are, let's have it right, a bit more fitter, a bit more healthier than the older heads in the squad. You can't really manage them amount of games going forward.
Football evolves. It keeps evolving. You know what I mean?
You look at these teams though that are like proper on the front foot though, pressing. I know he talked about it in his time here, Ralph Rangnick. And he was always looking at the younger players to come into the first team, the starting 11, because of the demands he put on the players instead of the older ones who couldn't do that job.
Well, football teams are developing now where they just play one touch. Yeah. Instead of just grabbing the ball, thinking they've got to run down the wing and take everyone on and just keep beating them and all that. It's changed. You know what I mean? One touch football is the way forward. That's how I see it.
Yeah, Zippy says it'd be harsh to take Garnacho out for Rashford on Saturday.
Yeah, it would be. In my opinion, Rashford's coming back, but that's just my opinion, and it will be harsh. It's right, but the thing is, Rashford going through a bit of a bad patch. Is the goal scorer. Everyone is allowed a bad patch, and he has to prove himself against Crystal Palace, and then he has to prove himself in the Galatasaray game. And if he doesn't, we'll be the first to call it, to say, right, well, he's had enough chances. He's not working as hard. He's not doing enough for the team. We'll call it first, without shadow of a doubt on that one. But Garnacho will be unlucky. And I did say the other day, Garnacho, couple of starts what he's had, didn't do the job. But then again, nor did anyone else. Do you know what I mean?
At the start of the season with Garnacho?
Yeah, at the start of the season. That wasn't Garnacho's fault. The team just wasn't gelling well. But he looks on fire and he wants it. And that is good. And I do like Garnacho and Erik ten Hag, the way they communicate with each other. I don't think Garnacho's really in too much of a rush because he knows his path. I think Erik ten Hag has worked a plan out and a path for him. So Rashford, really, next 2 games has got to he's got to put the step on it. He's got to improve.
He's got to at least start scoring goals again.
Listen, he's got
to. Does Rashford
not just the goals. He's got to improve in every department. Every department. I've not been happy with Rashford's work rate, the way he walks around the pitch, when other players, the way he doesn't help out. I see it as though he doesn't help out like the rest of the players in the defence when it's needed. And he has to improve in every department, or else it's Garnacho. He's just going to come on and say, right, I'm having it.
Yeah. You do see a difference in performance from the right-hand side when you've got Antony there or Palestra to what Rashford does on the left-hand side in terms of work rate, tracking your man and getting back. But maybe, like we've discussed before, I think it was this week or last week, that maybe Erik ten Hag's giving Rashford a different set of instructions from the player who's on the right-hand side, because for me, Rashford's more of a threat when we're on the counter-attack and getting in the space behind the defenders. So maybe Erik ten Hag's got a different set of instructions where, Rashford's the outball. When Man United are under pressure defensively, every single team, whether you play Saturday League, Sunday League, Premier League football, you need that outball when you're under pressure from the opposition.
Well, it's
instead of just booting the ball up, it's going to no one and it's coming straight back out to you.
Well, it's like today. Erik ten Hag's had his press conference, and I'm surprised that no one's asked the question.
Totally agree.
No one's at no one from the press box or whatever. None of them have. They've asked Erik ten Hag. What should have been asked is, Erik, are you asking Marcus Rashford to stay up there and not help back when needed, like Garnacho does? So that question has to be asked. And I'm surprised it hasn't. But at the end of the day, I look at Rashford. I've not seen him do a tackle. I just see him skipping around as though he's trying to block players off. And I'm very frustrated, very annoyed at it. And I want improvement from it. And, and quite rightly, you want improvement. It's not being like where I'm slagging him or I'm right at him. I want improvement by all my players. And Rashford has to step it up because he's not had the greatest starts.
Well, it needs calling out as well, especially when you see Garnacho coming. Everything you've just said Rashford doesn't, he does in terms of tackling and work rate getting back. So why shouldn't we demand that of Marcus Rashford as well?
Well, we're demanding it. And like I say, we will call it. He's got 2 games as far as I'm concerned. He has to improve in every aspect of what he does on the pitch compared to Garnacho. I don't think Garnacho is fully ready to start as a left winger for every game. Not at the moment, but I think if he carries on doing what he's doing and all that, then
Erik ten Hag won't have any other option.
No other option, and that's the way it might have to be.
Have you looked at Hojlund since he started? We've not really actually discussed Hojlund, to be fair, unless it's been a match reaction when he's played. But what's your overall thoughts on him? Been impressed so far?
I think it's been difficult. Obviously, he had to deal with the injury and that. But you can see the work rate in him. No, I'm fine with him. I always knew it was going to take time for him. Striker coming into the Premier League. United playing the way they are. It's not been good. So all aspects of the game hasn't helped Hojlund. But you can see it's there. What I do like about Hojlund is his speed.
Closing down as well.
So if to me, I'm just waiting for that ball over the top on the halfway line and him have a sprint. Yeah. I'm waiting for that because I know he can do it. But the football's not happened like that for him. But you've seen in the Arsenal game, he's a fighter. He's up there. So it'll take time for him to have 90 minutes of proper, robust football. And I think he'll get a bit of robust football against Crystal Palace because they're not going to let him run around. But I think he's prepared for a battle, because Palace are coming up here and they will battle. They want revenge, and they won't want to let him score.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'd seen little bits of Hojlund before he come to United. Not much. I'm sure there's people out there have watched a lot more than me, but I was always just worried about the expectation, the weight of the shirt on such a young lad, being the main man at Manchester United to score goals. But to me, in what I've seen already, it just doesn't seem to bother him. It's like a duck to water.
No, I don't think it bothers him. I think he's got a good personality.
Yeah.
I think he understands the game. He's got the enthusiasm. He's clearly got the speed, everything about him. But listen, I've seen great centre forwards change clubs in the Premier League when it used to be the first division and all that. Players come over here from abroad and everything. Not done it. It just happens. It doesn't work every time. But what it is, I see that he's got the enthusiasm and he looks as though he can cope with it. He's a big lad. So all you can do is hope. I think in a couple of months, really, I think he'll have settled down and got used to it. But it's going to be difficult for him for the first month or two, and especially with him coming and having an injury, doesn't help.
Yeah, I think Nikos likes Garnacho starting because he likes the Ronaldo celebration. Carey says, like the stream guys, one of the best United channels, no nonsense, like other drama channels. Much appreciated that comment.
Thank
and everyone
you.
who gets involved and supports the channel.
Smash the likes.
Smash the likes, yeah. If you don't mind, thank you. Sean says, Tony, absolutely spot on regarding Rashford. So your thoughts and opinions on Rashford. Jimmy Schofield says, play the young'uns, Amrabat, Hannibal, Garnacho, Palestra, leave Rashford out, no work rate for him. Palace, no answers to the commitment, enthusiasm, work rate, all of them four lads. So got a little bit mixed up there, but I think he means to say them four lads, them young'uns, he wants to start again against Palace on Saturday.
Yeah, that won't happen.
No.
That won't happen.
I think it's a little bit too much.
You've got to remember, I criticised Erik ten Hag for not bringing in the young ones last year, giving them the opportunities when there was lots of opportunities. Erik ten Hag was having none of that.
Can I just ask you, sorry to interrupt, do you think it was because he needed to weed out basically the men from the boys? Because if you look at the previous season under Ranić and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it was shocking. It was the worst season I've enjoyed in my lifetime anyway.
No.
So do you think he had to find out who he wanted for the future and who he needed to get rid of?
No, I don't think he had time to worry about the future. I don't think he had time for the youngsters. He knew...
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
so he had to play,
the
more experienced heads that had been in that squad for the previous years before.
He couldn't experiment. Erik ten Hag in his first year couldn't experiment by bringing the youngsters. He knew he had talent there, and I think he had it in his mind for the summer to bring them through and try and get them into the first team squad, which he has done. I think he had that many problems going on with players' attitude, looking at players if they were staying, if they were going, the commitment in the squad. So he had to get that right first. And if you look at it, 75% of that he got right last season with the games, with the attitude and with dealing with the problems. He was never going to get everything right. But what he has done, he came to United, he works with young players. I was a bit disappointed last year, but I fully understand why he didn't bring them in because of the big problems. Now he's integrating him, and that's a good thing going forward for Manchester United because, like I said yesterday and a couple of days before, I think there's 5, maybe 6 good players here what are going to be in this squad. And I think, and I'll repeat what I said yesterday, I think in 12 months, 18 months, I think you will see 4 of these youngsters what are here at Manchester United now starting in that first team squad. I think they're that good. And
you can't say 4. You've got to give me names. You've got to give me at least 2 or 3 names you think will be there or thereabouts starting in every game next season.
Oh, well, I look at Garnacho and Hannibal. There's 2.
Okay.
You know, and you look at Gore. He's now being brought into the squad. Looks a good player. Palestra, he has to improve. I don't think he's the finished article. I think he's just behind. But with the run of games, you just don't know what's going to happen with him. So there's 4, and I think there's going to be 1 or 2 more. But I do think what you're seeing with the young players, they're not going to be wasted and sent out sold or whatever. I think they're here for the future, and that's good because we've not seen it for a long time from any manager bringing in a big bunch of young players. You've not seen it, and I think it's good all round with the team, with the squad, and within in the club that everyone can see that something's being built, and that's what I see in Erik ten Hag for the future, and that's what I've always thought since he come here. He's here, and then after 3 seasons, you will see something. Well, you would hope that you would see something develop, and it's gone under the radar with the young fellas what have been coming into the squad. Now it's out in the open. It looks as though Erik ten Hag will be the man to develop this team, this club, and move it forward. I just hope that the injuries and everything don't derail him this season.
Yeah, I agree with Garnacho and Hannibal. Definitely, they look like they've got something about him where there will be Manchester United players in the future as well. But I think Dan Gore, don't get me wrong, looks a neat and tidy player. But I just think Erik ten Hag's bringing him into the squad to get used to the culture here at Manchester United, to the way he wants him to play. And I do expect next season for him to go out on loan and further his education and play against men, let's say in the Championship, then come back to Manchester United, a little bit like what Hannibal did with Birmingham City. And you look at who's in the team there, Eriksen and McTominay. You know, big rumours around McTominay leaving Manchester United in the summer. Eriksen, will he be about 32 next year? You know, it's time then for him to move on. He's done a good job being brought in by Erik ten Hag, but you can see with the younger ones and how the team's shaping in midfield, I just don't think he's going to get in that next year. So he might move on.
Eriksen,
so you're going to have to promote some of these youngsters, and you've got Kobbie Manu as well, who, for me,
well, we missed him out, didn't we? In the conversation, you know, he would be in the squad now if it weren't for the injury.
I don't think he would now.
In the squad,
I think you'd be all right giving him a little game here, there. You know, like the last 20 minutes of a game to, let's say, give Casemiro a rest if we're in a good position. But I think the future with Kobbie Manu, I think Manchester United's future is with him in the midfield. I just can't look past that. It just looks like...
No, but Kobbie Manu...
through games as though like he's been there for years.
Yeah, but Kobbie...
anyone who's watched him in the academy team, he's just like comes on leaps and bounds season after season.
Everyone what's seen Kobbie Manu.
He's only from Stockport, where we used to live, you know. Yeah. My neighbour knows...
Don't tell everyone where we live.
Well, I didn't say that, did I?
Where we used to live. Home. No, Kobbie Manu.
You live somewhere where
listen,
anyway, we live in different areas.
Let's forget that.
I'd say your area before mine.
Yeah. Listen, Kobbie Manu, right? Everyone who's seen him knows is a player, but Erik ten Hag wanted to introduce him into the squad. Yeah. And I don't say introduce him into the squad by getting a game all the time. I think he would have been used sparingly for the future. And that's what we've got with these youngsters. We've got a couple now what are in the squad and going to get plenty of games. It's just a matter of them pushing somebody out. And the big one, the big debate, the big conversation, what's on there is Garnacho. Yeah. Garnacho had a great season last year. All the times he played, yes, he didn't play regular in that, but he played every time you could see it. And this is his season. And when I look at Pellistri, this is the chance for Pellistri to cement something where he stays in the squad. And I fear for him if he doesn't up his game with the amount of chances he gets. He was going to go out on loan. We've now kept him. He's now got his chance. Let's hope he takes it. And there's a few more.
We've got Antony and Pellistri on that right-hand side. Ahmad as well, still to come back. So out of, you know, if you're saying fearing for him, I fear for Ahmad more because I think Pellistri's done a good job since he's come in certain games. And if he does keep that level and improves as well, for me, it's Ahmad who's got the, you know, the big thing to try and get into that team.
Well, they've all got a job to work, and what we're basically saying here, I think, is like the future looks good with all these young ones.
Yeah, I was going to say a story about Kobbie Manu before because my neighbour does. Her grandson actually hangs around with him, knows him very well. Got brought up at school together, but I'm not going to tell you now. I had a good, interesting story as well, but maybe I might tell you later on off camera. Okay. But I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us today.
That's Dad being told off, by the way.
No, that's not you being told off. You know I come down hard on you if I need to, just like he does with me. Trust me.
Ooh.
That's Dad, that's Lad. He's Tony, I'm Kieran, just for any new viewers out there. But yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us, smashing that like button, getting involved in the chat as well. Been fantastic today. Good chat in there as well. And we'll be back tomorrow after the game. Hopefully, we've got Webby after the game tomorrow. He was meant to be on the game the other night after it, but we couldn't find him. Tried phoning him, but he wasn't about. He'd had to go home. So we just done my dad Tony's. But hopefully, we get 2 match reactions on Saturday. We'll get that notification turned on as well. And we'll see you all again on Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and we'll see you again soon, Reds. Nice one.